it was Palm Sunday, and because of a sore throat, 5-year-old Tommy stayed home from church with a babysitter. And when the family returned home, they were carrying their palm fronds. And Tommy inquired as to what they were for. And his father responded, "Well, Tommy, people held them over Jesus' head as he walked by." "Wouldn't you just know it?" Tommy complained. "The one Sunday I don't go to church and he shows up." Oh my. It was hard-pressed to find some Palm Sunday humor. Well, happy Palm Sunday. It certainly is a celebration, isn't it? Because today is the day in Christian tradition, and according to the biblical story, that, like our theater group said, that Jesus came into Jerusalem humbly on a donkey and was greeted by people with their palm fronds, saying, "Hosanna, blessed is he that comes in the name of the Lord." And you know, this week is the beginning of Holy Week. We call it Holy Week. Many people call it the week that changed the world because it led to, as the biblical story says, Jesus' crucifixion and his resurrection. And if you're familiar with some of what happened this week, according to the biblical story, Jesus had a very busy week. He had a very busy week. He went into the temple and turned over the tables of the money changers. He constantly was challenged by the Pharisees and Sadducees, which you remember are the religious leaders and teachers of that time. He continued to teach with parables to anyone that would listen. It was Passover, so he had the Passover meal with his disciples. One of his closest associates betrayed him. One of his best friends denied him 3 times. And he was brought before the Sanhedrin and sentenced to die by crucifixion. So that is the more traditional view of Palm Sunday. And so today we're looking at it from a unity perspective. Because from unity, we always look at what does this story mean to us? And what we learned in ministerial school is called the maieutic meaning of something. We talk about metaphysical. The maieutic is just another form of metaphysical interpretation, meaning what does it mean to you? What does it mean to us? And so in unity, we look at Palm Sunday as the journey. We're celebrating the journey of claiming, of knowing. When I say knowing, I want you to know I'm not talking about an intellectual process. I'm talking about, you know when you know something, you know that you know that you know, and you don't really know why you know it, you just know it. You might not know your directions in your car, but you know you're supposed to take a right. Okay, that's what I'm talking about when I say knowing. So Palm Sunday is the day, and any day can be Palm Sunday, is the day that we say yes to our transformation, yes to knowing and claiming and expressing our Christ nature at the deepest level of our being. How does that sound? That sound good? All right. And today is also the day that we bring to a close our book study. I know there's some more book studies that are going to continue in the community, but in terms of our messages on Sunday, this is the last Sunday that we'll be talking about Daring Greatly, specifically from the perspective of Brene Brown. We're going to always be daring greatly, aren't we? Yes. Okay, I love that. Yes. And so I was excited, though, because I think the message of Daring Greatly fits so well with the Palm Sunday Easter message. So, all right, so we've been talking over the last few weeks about what it means to dare greatly. And Brene Brown has been teaching us that what it takes to dare greatly is to own our magnificence, to release and to move beyond the conditioning of our past that has caused us at times to feel shame and blame. and instead embrace a shame resilience, right? Remember that? And to live wholeheartedly. Living wholeheartedly is grounded in worthiness, and it calls us to be courageous, compassionate, and connected like we never have before. And so we've worked with that. Daring greatly is living wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly is daring greatly. And so what that life experience calls us up to be is very conscious and awake, doesn't it? Remember we talked about minding the gap, being very awake and conscious to, gosh, this is what I say I'm about, my aspired values, and this is how I'm living right now. Is there a gap? And to just be mindful of that gap gently. And through being conscious and aware, we can make another choice. We can choose our aspired values. It also calls us up to what Brene talks about, letting go of our armor. Because we can be afraid to be vulnerable, can't we? So many times we've just felt like our life experience has called us to be protected, to protect our heart, right? And so she says, wow, daring greatly is being able to let go of that armor, to open up our heart, to loving like we've never loved before, to owning our power and grounding that power in love. It calls us to forgive. And remember, we've also talked about it calls us to be able and willing to have those difficult conversations where we might be afraid to speak our truth because we're afraid someone might walk away. It also calls us to just own our beauty and our magnificence. And I was perusing the internet. I'm always perusing, looking for a story. And I saw this headline that really grabbed my attention. It said, "Mother in a bikini goes viral." That got my attention. And so what the story was about was this woman, she's in her 30s, and she had someone take a picture of herself in a bikini. And she posted it online, and it went viral because what she said was, you know, I've had 3 children, and I know my body might show that. I might have some stretch marks or some poochie belly or whatever, but she said, you know what? I'm so proud of my body that it was able to bear those beautiful children that I love. I am grateful for my body. And let me tell you, because it went viral, people have written her and said, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your courage. Thank you so much. Because now I'm putting on my bikini. Come on, women, let's put on our bikinis. Yeah. Because what we're talking about here is courage. Really, courage. That's daring greatly, folks. I don't know about you, but it would be a real stretch for me to put my picture on the internet with a bikini on. Courage and compassion for ourselves, compassion for others, and that connection. That's living wholeheartedly. And you know, Jesus is such a great example of this, especially in this story of Palm Sunday. Wow, talk about somebody that dared greatly. Because you know, okay, if you remember the story, the context of the story is that Jesus was really in a lot of trouble. He had just raised Lazarus from the dead. That did not go over well with the Pharisees and Sadducees. And so when Jesus made the decision to leave the home of Lazarus and Mary and Martha and go into Jerusalem, his disciples said, "What are you doing? You know you're a marked man." He said, it's mine to do. It's mine to do. I know that it's mine to do. And so he gave them instructions on how to support him with the donkey and to come in. But the thing is, what I so admire about Jesus was his willingness to risk, his yes. He said yes to his journey of transformation. He was ending his 3-year ministry, and he knew that by saying yes to going to Jerusalem, that he was going to be what he had never been before and do what he'd never done before. He was saying yes to claiming his Christ nature. And I so appreciate the theater group for bringing forth the Christ distinction, because this is where we diverge from traditional Christianity, because what we believe in unity is that Jesus was not the only expression of the Christ. We are all the Christ, because what the Christ is your divine nature. It was not just about Jesus. Jesus modeled, who and what we can be. So Jesus was the man from Galilee. Jesus Christ is the man that fully embodied and stood in and knew and claimed and expressed his Christ nature. And today on Palm Sunday is our day. Palm Sunday, and again, every day is Palm Sunday. But today is our day to say yes to claiming, knowing, and expressing our Christ nature. Do you know that you're the Christ? Okay, so I'm going to do a little experiment with you, and you don't, Okay, so I just invite you to say your name to yourself, or out loud, and put the name Christ after. Okay, let's say it out loud. Say your name and then follow it with Christ. How does that feel? Now, I've got to tell you, I grew up Southern Baptist. That would not go over well. And I love my Southern Baptist background. I really do. I honor it. I love it. I learned some Bible. But that is part of what, folks, we get to claim. And I'm so glad, Angela, thank you I'm here to remind you of your magnificence. Because, folks, to me, that's what church is, in unity. And Palm Sunday and this Easter season is us reminding ourselves of what we are, saying yes to all that we are, to our Christ. Do you know that you're way more than enough to say yes to that, to claim that and know it and express it? Okay, so I invite you to repeat after me. I am way more than enough.
I am way more than enough.
Whoa. That was awesome. Okay, I would like for you to remember that as I'm going to give you some homework this week. And I want to remind you, please come on Friday night. Because, okay, here we are on Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday is when we say yes to the journey. And this is just, metaphysically what it means to us in unity. And then, okay, sometimes when we say yes, remember those gremlins that Brene Brown talked about? Those gremlins, those limiting beliefs like, oh, I can't do that. Who do I think I am? I'm not enough. I'm to blame. I'm a victim. There's not enough time, money. You know what I'm talking about. Sometimes they come up. And so Good Friday is that opportunity for us to consciously let those go, folks. Or to say, thank you for sharing. I say yes. And then Easter is when we rise into a new understanding of what we are. A deeper yes, where we truly, truly, truly know that we know what we are. You say yes to that? Yes. All right. So Edie and I would love to see you on Good Friday so we can have that release experience together. All right, so this week, I'd like you to I just invite you, it's an opportunity, to still work with the question that we worked with in meditation. Where am I being called in my life to be what I've never been before and do what I've never done before? Where am I really being called to dare greatly, to live wholeheartedly, to live so courageously and compassionate, so from that place of heart connection that I have let go of the armor around my heart and I embrace vulnerability, folks, because I tell you, when we say yes to transformation, we get to just know that vulnerability comes with the package. I know. Take a deep breath. But again, I always like to stand in front of a spiritual community and say, folks, again, this is why we are here in spiritual community, to support each other, to love each other through our sometimes what feels like challenges, hand in hand, heart to heart, to be that reminder. All right, so we're saying yes, right? Yes. All right. Well, let's take another deep breath and let's affirm together. I dare greatly and say yes to my journey of transformation. See you this Friday. Blessings.